And in the late 1960s had a great lasting impression on me as a young boy, with a lot of my friends' fathers and mothers who worked for Rockwell and McDonnell Douglas, which was a long time ago, it seems. But I'd like to introduce our panel, or have our panel introduce themselves just very quickly, and then we'll since that microphone, go ahead.
Hello. I'm Dr. Ferdowsi. I'm one of the flight directors on the Mars Science Lab Curiosity mission. Been on that flight for about 9 years and still going.
My name's Forrest Gibson. I directed a viral video hit. That's what got me here. I love space and NASA too, so there's that.
My name is Warren Buck. I'm a professor of physics, a theoretical physicist, and I spent a couple of years on a panel for the National Academy of Sciences to look at and review space exploration for NASA.
Hi, my name is Cedric Harris. I work for NASA headquarters, and I did the majority of the videos that you see tonight.
Yeah, that's exactly right, in that without video, without photographs, without bringing it to people, nobody knows what amazing things we do. So I'll just say a very sincere thank you to Cedric. I'm Katie Coleman. I'm a NASA astronaut. I flew on 2 shuttle missions, and then recently, well, not so recently, about a year and a half ago, came back from living for 6 months on the space station.
Hi. I'm Lieutenant Uhura. I answer to a couple of other names, including Hey You. No, not that. And I'm very glad to be here with you. Thank you for all being here.
Hi there, I'm Bert Ulrich. I work at NASA headquarters in the Office of Communications, and I work on film and TV collaborations as well as arts ones. So I'm very happy to be here.
Well, thank you all for that. I think one of the things that we wanted to do when we set out with the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Seattle World's Fair was to bring back that time, which seems now ancient if you looked at that opening film, the styles, the hairstyles, and everything. But it was when NASA was starting, it was when the space race was starting. It was only 1,000+ days of President Kennedy's announcement to send a man to the moon when we actually got to the moon. It was quite extraordinary when you look at the technology involved. But there's also a great cross-section, as Katie was saying earlier, the cross-section of the arts and the sciences. They share one thing in common, and that is imagination. Imagining something that you bring into being through your own spirit and your own hard work. Of all the work I've done with NASA and all the scientists and astronauts I've met, every single one was inspired to go into science not by simply a textbook or hardcore science, was by fantasy and science fiction and reading and watching films. Mae Jemison, the first African-American astronaut in space, was inspired to go into space by seeing Nichelle Nichols as a role model, as the first serious African-American actress on television with Star Trek. And so you can see that actually happening before your eyes.
And incidentally, I just left her home in, where she lives, Houston, where she put on a huge extravaganza on going into space in the next 100 years. I was really proud to be there with her.
We're so glad you were here. Nichelle was just in Los Angeles 2 days ago, was in Houston yesterday, and here today all to do this performance. So I'm so glad to hear it.
One of the wonderful things you heard Nichelle sing tonight, but we were always talking about things like hailing frequencies, and one of the hailing frequency that she would use earlier in her career was her voice, her beautiful voice, and sang with Duke Ellington and Lionel Hampton and other bands. Then, of course, the Star Trek years. I don't have to tell that story, but this.
Actually discovered by Duke Ellington when I was 15, and I was supposed to do and did do a ballet in which I was featured with the big band, with orchestra, and a few other dancers around me. And the next day, the first day, went over wonderfully well. The second day um, the singer got sick. And guess who got on? And that's how I came to sing with the great Duke Ellington and a few other times with him after that. It was just wonderful. For a 15-year-old girl, it was amazing.
I wanted to just follow up with this great story of after playing Lieutenant Uhura and Commander Uhura, then you got to play an amazing role with NASA in inspiring folks like Mae Jameson, and I understand the late Sally Ride as well. Can you tell me just a little bit about, or help summarize, what it means to you to play that kind of role in literally changing the face of NASA?
Thank you. Well, I was always interested in NASA and supportive of NASA and amazed what the real astronauts were doing, have achieved. And I got to know some, and they were all Star Trek fans, and it was so wonderful because I was in awe of them, and here I was on the screen portraying an astronaut of the future. And
everyone is jealous that I got to be here tonight. They all say, "Take from us." It's true.
And so I became more and more involved on a personal level, on a serious level, until NASA called me once and said, "We need you to recruit the first women and minority astronauts for the Space Shuttle program because we have no women and we don't know what we've opened this up." And I said, "Well, then how can you be surprised that women aren't coming flowing to you? You've said women are welcome for 6 years now, and this is just another time." He said, "But we're serious now." and then they kind of realized how foolish that sounded, and they said, "Well, this is why we need you. You need to convince them." And I said, "Not me, old buddy." And then they said, "No, we really, really need you. They will believe you if you tell them." And I said, "I will do this on one condition." And they said, "Anything." I said, "Well, you better listen to the condition, because I am going to bring you so many qualified women and minority applicants for this position that if you don't choose one, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to take you before Congress." I know half of the people in Congress at that time. And I said, everybody in the newspapers across the country will know about it, and I will do interviews regarding this. And they said, no, we are serious. And okay. And I said, and I went out to do just that, to recruit, and suddenly the people that were responding were the biggest trekkers that you ever saw. And so they truly believed what I said, that NASA was, and then you asked me, "Are you sure NASA's?" I said, "Yes, NASA is filled with trekkers." And so it was really a very, very, very successful endeavor. And you've seen what's happened now so it changed the face of the astronaut corps forever. And I used to have, I guess, a bug in my head about NASA being all men until that I was successful in recruiting women and minority astronauts. Many of the men that I was kind of teed off with, just being came to me and thanked me for bringing in everyone where they belonged, and that was one of the good things that I feel that I contributed. Thank you.
science fiction airport? Because fantasy shows, who was your inspiration for Katie Coleman, for popular culture? Who caught your attention first to sort of plant the seed?
Well, so I loved the Jetsons. I did. Actually, I loved all these shows that really just showed you there was someplace else out there, and that there was a different way of living a different world, and it was just exciting to go to that world. But then in black and white, when we think about the space program, I have to say I'm 51, so I was born in 60, and when I thought of astronauts, I think of that picture of the Mercury 7, standing in front of an airplane, and none of them looked like me. And, it just wasn't something I could relate to, and it was really not until Sally Ride, I met her when she came and she talked at MIT, and I shook her hand, and we've talked about it since. I mean, she didn't remember, she shakes a lot of hands, but I remembered. And just seeing her and seeing someone that I could relate to made me think, well, maybe that's something real that I could try for. And this was Sally Ride. And she and I have talked about this story since. And, what Nichelle was talking about helping to recruit, what Bubba does, he's got his real job that he does, but also by basically choosing to share a lot. He's out there, and it takes, I think, a lot of times a personal relationship, a really personal step forward on the part of adults to influence kids and make them think, you could do that. When you're Duke Ellington, 15 years old, somebody looked at you and said, you're going on, and they implied that they believed in you. And that's something that all of us here have the power to do, although sometimes it's not the easiest or the most fun, it takes some effort and some generosity to do. I don't always have it either, but I think that's what we have to think about for the future.
I think that's absolutely true, and it's absolutely true. Oh, Nichelle.
Just to add a little bit about Sally Ride, I was so excited when she was chosen, and I had been under contract to NASA, as I said, to recruit women and minority astronauts for the Space Shuttle program, and to convince them that NASA was serious. And so I told NASA,